Minecraft is a game known for many things, but graphics aren't one of them. For a game released in 2009, the same year as titles like Bayonetta and Modern Warfare, the Nintendo 64-esque graphics are pretty basic. Over the past decade though, players have been looking to change that, and the last few years have brought a game changer into the mix: ray tracing. With official RTX support on Minecraft Bedrock and custom ray tracing packs on Java Edition, Minecraft is looking better than ever. So, in today's episode of Minecraft Uncovered, I wanted to dive into RTX and see just how far we've come. The first news we got of ray tracing in Minecraft actually came quite a long time ago, longer than you'd imagine. It wasn't in 2020 when the Bedrock RTX beta launched, and it wasn't even back in 2018 when Nvidia launched their ray tracing RTX graphics cards. No, the story starts in 2017 with a very familiar face for anyone who's experimented with shaders. Sonic Ether, the creator of what are probably the largest and most complex shaders in the game, his Unbelievable Shaders or SEUS series. Sonic Ether has been in the shader making game for as long as it's existed, with his earliest work that I can find coming in January of 2012 with the original SEUS shaders, and he's since released up to SEUS 11 and an entirely new pack called SEUS Renewed. But along with these, there was and is an experiment. December 27th of 2017, just before the end of the year and barely a week after the release of SEUS Renewed, there was a new post to the Sonic Ether Patreon. Dev News: Path Tracing Experiments. Path tracing is a form of ray tracing, and since the whole thing is extremely complicated, I'll just say it works by bouncing light around between you and a light source, which makes things look cool, I think. I rarely know what I'm talking about, and this is not one of those times. So that's a lot of big words, but how did it actually turn out? Well, let's take a look. This is SEUS PTGI E12, the most up-to-date version of the main branch of ray tracing shaders, and I'll explain what I mean in a bit. And this is seriously impressive. The shaders look great outside, as you would expect, but where they really shine is indoors. That's why all those RTX showcase videos on YouTube are in some hallway with a sea lantern at the end or something, because those small closed environments allow for some pretty crazy and detailed lighting at a decent frame rate. Fortunately for me, I recently bought a new PC for YouTube purposes and it's running with an RTX 3080, so at the cost of a GPU hot enough to sear a steak, I can actually show off a little bit more of the capabilities of PTGI in a more open environment. But what about those with PCs that aren't quite as powerful? Well, there's actually a lot you can do to help that. First off, if you're using Optifine for the shaders, I definitely suggest switching over to Sodium instead for a nice FPS boost. On top of that, there's a new experimental mod called Iris Shaders that I'm using here, which is kinda insane. It boosted my FPS by another 50% or so. There's a YouTuber by the name of Asian Half Squat, and he makes great videos about shaders, realistic Minecraft, higher frame rates, and so on, so I'd highly recommend checking him out if this type of stuff interests you. But even if all of that just isn't enough, Sonic Ether himself has blessed us with a gift: SEUS PTGI HRR. Essentially, the shader works by rendering the game at half the resolution, then upscaling it to your final image to improve performance. It's pretty good at doing so, again almost doubling your frame rate, but Sonic Ether himself has said it should be giving you twice the FPS it does right now, so there's still a lot of work to do. You won't really notice a visual difference unless you're moving, but when you do, you'll probably be able to tell where all that extra FPS came from. Still, for those that are playing on budget PCs with monitors that can't really display super high quality image anyways, the half resolution version is definitely worth checking out if you want a taste of Minecraft ray tracing. But Sonic Ether isn't the only one experimenting with ray tracing on Java Edition. While there are quite a few in development, there's only two that I know of that are somewhat playable. The first is one known as MollyVX, and it's one I hadn't heard about until I started researching this video. While the Patreon seemingly went dead in late 2020, the Discord is actually super active, and MollyVX has been kept up to date all this time. This one is also a pretty great shader. It's visually super pleasing, the performance is really good, and there's even tons of cool filters you can try out for gameplay that honestly doesn't even look like Minecraft anymore. I'll put a few examples from the Discord server on screen. There are a few issues with incompatibility, for example Sodium and Iris don't seem to work with it, but other than that and a few visual bugs, MollyVX is a pretty great pack. If you like the way it looks and want to try it out, you can still get the current versions by joining their Patreon, linking it to your Discord, and downloading them. But while MollyVX is a very interesting pack, our last pack, while currently pretty scuffed, is the most exciting one yet, even outside of the realm of shaders. Welcome to Continue Continuum RT, a fully ray-traced Minecraft shader pack that's still in the early alpha stages of development. The pictures linked on their website are seriously impressive. I could honestly be fooled into believing these were real life if it wasn't for everything being made out of squares. But along with this incredible shader pack, the Continuum team is also working on something called the Focal Engine, a brand new, entirely custom rendering engine written in C++ with the Vulkan API. Now, if that means literally nothing to you, I completely understand, but let me explain. C++ is a programming language which is used for Minecraft's Bedrock Edition, while Java Edition uses, well, Java. But C++ is more efficient language than Java, and because Bedrock Edition is optimized for phones and other low-end devices, the performance is incredible. Just a very basic comparison shows that Bedrock can run at almost 4 times the FPS of Java, which is insane. But on top of that, switching to Vulkan, which is the successor to the outdated OpenGL graphics thing that Minecraft is using, could potentially boost FPS by another 20 or 30% from what I've seen. You add those together, and this Focal Engine, if it's done well, could potentially be 5 times faster than vanilla. Will that actually happen? Almost absolutely not, because there's only so much you can do without rewriting the game entirely. But this could still be a game changer for the future of modding, shading, and performance. Keep in mind, Focal Engine is still in very early development from everything I've read, and it could be years until a finished version is released to the public. Still though, the work on Continuum, Seuss, and even MollyVX is some of the most exciting work in the history of Minecraft graphics, and I'm very excited to see what the future holds. But let's take another look at the past, because we've so far failed to mention something very, very important. Let's take a look at Minecraft RTX. For those that don't know, which I would wager isn't very many of you, Minecraft RTX is essentially the official branch of ray tracing for Minecraft, which is exclusive to Bedrock Edition, aka the one on your phone, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and maybe a laptop or PC if they're running the latest versions of Windows. But even with that, RTX support is very limited. It only runs on devices with NVIDIA RTX graphics cards, which so far are just laptops and PCs. The plan for ray tracing was announced way back in August of 2019, along with a brand new game engine known as Render Dragon that was supposed to improve the performance and visuals of Minecraft. The announcement included a video that showed them both off, but surprisingly, that was it in terms of RTX news for quite a while. It took a whole 8 months for us to get a chance to experience it ourselves, with the release of the Minecraft RTX beta. The initial experience was pretty rough, because you had to join the Xbox Insider program and any worlds opened with RTX became unplayable, since getting to the Minecraft Worlds folder to back them up was the most painful thing known to man aside from a snapped wee-wee. Some people just didn't even bother, and I don't blame them. But 4 months after this slightly scuffed beta, we received the proper official release of RTX for Minecraft Windows 10 Edition. Except it was, and still is, very weirdly implemented. Essentially, ray tracing can only be done with special texture packs with PBR enabled, which means peanut butter rigatoni. I don't know, I think it's like physically based rendering or something, doesn't matter. Point is, you gotta use a pack to get ray tracing, and that's easier said than done because there's only 3 official ones that are all buried inside the official NVIDIA Minecraft RTX texturing guide. For some reason, I couldn't tell you. So I downloaded them to take a look, and I gotta say, these suck. Like, they're pretty bad. The HD Foundational pack is the largest of the 3, and it really shouldn't be because it doesn't feel even remotely grand enough for that title. The performance, for one, is abysmal. I can barely crack 60 frames per second, if even, on an RTX 3080. You know, the 3rd best graphics card in the world? Yeah, apparently it just won't cut it for Minecraft. Too intensive. Minecraft runs slower for me than Cyberpunk 2077 on ultra settings, and that sentence shouldn't even exist. For such a performance hit, you'd expect something absolutely stunning, right? But no, the visuals aren't even very impressive, at least to me, and honestly the only things I could really notice at all were some slightly improved lighting, which pretty much disappears at night, some overly smooth blocks, which I'm not even sure I like, and this cool metallic sheen over the world, except that's A, already existed for at least 3 or 4 years on Java even without ray tracing, B, theirs looks better, and C, theirs only does it when it makes sense, like when it's raining instead of literally all the time, even at night when it's pitch black and the world has less moisture than Ben Shapiro's wife. The water looks cool, but it's again nothing new, and it still has that ugly static vanilla texture overlaid onto it, so maybe that's part of a setting I can change, but nobody told me and I still don't know. Oh, and also, the pack is very glitchy for some reason. Like, I spent maybe 5 minutes testing it out and I was able to discover that the lighting gets like desynced from some blocks when you jump. And also, ice just breaks everything, and the block outline is visible through other blocks, and it also looks like an ice half slab if it's next to water, and it also gives you triple vision if you look through it underwater. Yeah, I don't know, things are broken and not good. I see potential here, really, I do, but there's a lot to be polished and patched up. Moving on to the decorative pack, and it's the same thing. Like, literally, I thought I had accidentally reloaded the first pack when I put this one on, and even after testing, the only real differences I can tell are better shadows, and underwater looks really awesome actually, but it still suffers from all the same glitches and performance issues of the last pack. So finally, on to the last pack, at least for Nvidia, the much smaller Blockworks PBR pack. And it still sucks. Actually, it's the worst one by far. The lighting is not great, the sky is pretty boring, the custom textures aren't really for me, it still runs at like 50 frames per second, and the glitches are all still here, except I think the weird underwater ice triple vision is fixed, but it might just be too hard to see since ice isn't as see-through. Oh, and to top it all off, some textures just don't exist yet. For example, every stage of the beetroot plant. I will say the textures that do exist look somewhat realistic at a distance, and underwater is still as cool as ever, but I would really not recommend any of these 3 packs. Fortunately, they aren't our only options. From what I can tell, there's around 20 custom RTX packs that have been made to date, and while I'm only going to go over 3 in this video, I'll link the most complete list that I know of in the description if you'd like to experiment and try them all out. Here, we're going to take a look at 3 of the biggest ones, or at least the 3 that I've heard of, which are Vanilla RTX, Defined PBR, and Dig. Let's start with that last one, since it appears to be the smallest of the 3 in popularity, but not in size considering it's approaching half a gigabyte large, and not in quality either apparently. For the bad, the performance is still not great. Granted, it's better than all 3 of the Nvidia packs, but only by a little. And also, those glitches I mentioned before are all still here, which makes me think that it's a glitch with the ray tracing itself instead of the resource packs, but at this point I'll just have to live with it. And unfortunately, I have to say that the Nvidia packs do a lot better in terms of underwater visuals. This one definitely isn't bad, but it's very underwhelming. However, in almost everything else, Dig exceeds the official packs by a lot. First off, Dig is actually an Ultra HD pack, so you can see these blocks have some insane detail. There's also this cool, maybe unintentional aesthetic that makes everything look like gems, even wood which sparkles like it's covered in golden glitter when you get up to it. On top of that, there's some really cool custom block models for trees and a few other blocks, and they even managed to do away with the make everything shiny no matter what design decision in the other packs. So solid pack, definitely not perfect, but pretty good. 8 out of 10. On to Defined PBR, which as an added bonus even adds some extra shine to your title screen. Nice touch. Otherwise though, I'd say it feels pretty comparable to the foundational Nvidia pack, just with these sort of 3D-ish textures and without the terrible universal block shine I was talking about. So 6 out of 10 I guess, not much else to say really. And finally, we have Vanilla RTX. This one also reminds me of the foundational pack and Defined PBR, but with some major changes both for the good and for the bad. For the good, the sun is a fireball and it reflects off of everything, which is pretty cool. For the bad, which is everything else, underwater doesn't look as cool, performance is the worst out of all the packs I tested, and it seems very glitchy for some reason. I was having some areas of the map just not update, and whenever I went underwater, snow would flash over the entire screen every few seconds, so yeah, not a fan. 4 out of 10, this is just barely above the unfinished Nvidia pack, and that's not a good thing. So what are my thoughts on Minecraft RTX? Very promising, and in some scenarios it can look very pretty, but the official graphics aren't too impressive, many of the custom packs aren't much different, performance is terrible, and even the high resolution and relatively nice packs like Dig aren't able to use their extra pixels to cover up the many issues of Minecraft RTX. I do think that one day the official RTX could look and perform better than anything we've ever seen in Minecraft, but today there's a very long way to go. Thank you all for watching the video, I hope you all enjoyed. I also hope it didn't feel too rushed. Plans changed and the video that was supposed to come out this week is going to come out next week, except that didn't happen and I wrote the script before that got changed and then I actually did upload that video last week. So point is, I had like 4 days to make this, but that's alright. I still thoroughly enjoyed making the video, and I think I'll probably be covering Minecraft graphics more often in the future, since I still think there's a lot to talk about. Also, big shout out to Manicube. As some of you may know, I am now partnered with them, which is super cool, so huge thanks for that. The server is my personal favorite for parkour, and also has every other game mode you can think of, so definitely check it out. The IP is play.manicube.com. Nothing else to say though, except subscribe if you want more, like if you enjoyed, dislike it if you didn't, and feel free to tell me why, and consider joining my Discord for a nice community, tons of interesting research, and more memes and inside jokes than even I can keep up with. But yeah, that's it. Thanks again for watching, and have a good one, everybody. Peace.